Hey guys, my name is John, and today I'm going to show you a method for using refined storage to automate the Runic altar from Botania in Minecraft 1.12.2. It's usually not too difficult to automate a single rune type with refined storage, but if you try to craft multiple runes at once, you usually end up with a giant mess on your Runic altar and no runes being crafted. So, let's see if this system actually does what it's supposed to. Let's say I want a rune of fire, a rune of earth, and a rune of air. So you can see there's only enough stuff for the rune of fire. It crafts it, it gets pulled in the system, and everything starts working. So let's see how we built this system and talk a little bit about how it works. So, to build this system, you're going to need several items: a dispenser, a piece of sand, an item frame, 2 chests, a hopper, 5 redstone, a redstone repeater and comparator, some blocks to pillar up with, doesn't matter what they are, and 3 blocks that will conduct redstone. Again, doesn't matter what they are as long as they conduct redstone, which is pretty much every non-transparent block in the game. So no glass, but I'm going to use diorite. You'll also need a floating hopperhock, a piece of living rock, a hovering hourglass, an open crate, a wand of the forest, not your main wand of the forest, an additional one, and if you use a magnet ring, you'll probably want a Solegnolia. We're going to need an importer and a crafter and some cable to connect them to our system. A list of these items will be available in the video description. So let's see how we build this. We're going to start with the dispenser. It needs to be placed facing into the Runic altar. If you're not sure, break the Runic altar and make sure it looks like this. If it's not placed right, you can shift right click with the wand of the forest to reorient the dispenser. Or you can simply break it and replace it. Next, let's place the hovering hourglass. It will go on top of the dispenser. In the dispenser, we'll place our wand of the forest. I'm not going to place the sand in the timer yet, so we can avoid some clicking noises. I'll do that last. Next, we'll take the Redstone Comparator and face it away from the Runic altar. Make sure the torches, the 2 of them, touch the Runic altar, and the one is pointing away. If it looks like it's lit up, you're in the wrong mode. Right-click to change the mode. If it is oriented wrong, shift right-click with the wand of the forest to orient it correctly. Or you can break and replace it. Next, let's take our redstone. We're going to put 2 pieces, one out from the comparator and one to the left. Then we'll take the redstone repeater and orient it in the same direction as the comparator from the second piece of redstone. That's going to face into one of the redstone connecting blocks that we got. Then we'll use our pillaring blocks to make the blocks end up in a staircase pattern like this. You can either take down your pillaring blocks or leave them there. It won't matter. The 3 pieces of redstone go on your 3 conducting redstone blocks. Next, we'll place the open crate. It needs to be 2 blocks above the Runic altar. Next, take your hopper and have it face into the open crate. We'll take one of the chests and place it on top of the hopper. Then we'll take the crafter and face that into the chest. If it isn't oriented properly, shift right click with the wand of the forest until it is. Next, we'll place the floating hopperhock. It's going to go right on top of the mana spreader. And above that, we're going to place the chest so that it is next to the open crate. take your item frame and place it on the chest, and place the living rock into the item frame. If you use a magnet ring, I would advise putting a Solegnolia right about here to make sure you don't pick up living rock if you walk by this setup. Next, we'll take the importer and place it into the chest, and then we'll connect these things into our system with the refined storage cable. The only thing we have left to do is add the one piece of sand to the timer over here. And we also need to make sure that the Floating Hopperhock is in the right mode. By default, it is set to pick up only items and frames. That is not the mode we want. So make sure your Wand of the Forest is in function mode by shift right clicking. You can cycle between bind and function mode by shift right clicking an air block. With it in function mode, you can shift right click to change the functions of the Hopperhock. Make sure it ends up on pick up only items not in frames. We want to make sure the Hopperhock does not pick up the living rock, which is going to be tossed onto the runic altar. So now we can make our auto crafting patterns. Open your pattern grid. Make sure it's in processing mode. We can search for runes in JEI. Let's set up a Rune of Fire pattern. We'll hit the plus button. We take away the runic altar by shift left clicking and replace it with a single piece of living rock. It's going to be very similar for all the patterns you shift click from JEI. Let's make a pattern for a Rune of Earth and also a Rune of Air. Don't forget to replace the runic altar with the living rock in each pattern. Otherwise, this won't work. Now we can place our patterns into the crafter and make sure the crafter mode is set to Redstone Pulse inserts next set. Now we should be ready to auto craft runes. Let's see if it works. We'll try to craft a Rune of Earth, a Rune of Air, and a Rune of Fire. It's only dropped the stuff for the Rune of Earth. So how is that working? Well, remember, the crafter is in Redstone Pulse inserts next set mode, so it will not begin a new crafting operation until the last one is complete. And it will know the last one is complete when it gets a redstone signal, which is coming from this comparator snaking its way up our stairs. While the runic altar is crafting and waiting for mana, it outputs a signal strength of 1. When it is done receiving mana and ready to be hit with a Wand of the Forest, it outputs a signal strength of 2. And that's how we get our redstone signal up to the crafter. So that enables us to craft runes sequentially and not have the runic altar fill up with items and not end up making anything. By the way, if the clicking drives you nuts like it does me, there are a few options you could do. It doesn't have to be a 1-second timer. You could put it at 10, and then you won't have so much going on. Now, it will take longer to craft because it'll sit there for 10 seconds, but that's not such a big deal, and there's a lot less clicking. Alternatively, I usually install Super Sound Muffler and get rid of the clicks altogether, so that's one more solution. If you have extra utilities or the auto click machine mod, either one of those will work in place of a dispenser, and they don't make any noise at all. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, I'd appreciate a like, maybe even a subscribe, and I will see you next time.